Welcome, welcome. We are back for another away days. It's another week. It's another dreadful, dreadful time to be a Newcastle United fan. Always drama, always something going on with the fan base. But as always, we'll keep digging away as fans, and we will look to what's going to be a huge, huge game for Newcastle United this weekend. We're playing newly promoted Watford, who are on fantastic form. We have the guys in the studio. They're ready to come on. But first, just want to hear Chris's thoughts on how things are. So how are you, Chris? And how things, how do you think how big do you think this game's going to be Saturday?
It's a big game, isn't it, mate? We were discussing it recently. Was it on the 5-minute rant on the NUFC Matters? We were talking about it, weren't we? Saying that the next two games are massive for us, and obviously we don't want to go into that international break without a win. And no offense to the Watford lads, but when we look at our fixture list, this is a game that we class as needing 3 points from, as I'm sure they do. Similarly, and that's the position that we're both in, really, isn't it? But I'm hopeful. I don't expect a win, but I think we're more than capable of getting a win, should I say. I can't say I'm confident because I think we are missing a couple of key players. Obviously, Dubravka, I don't think he's going to be back. Callum Wilson, it doesn't look like he's going to be back. I mean, we've got Alan St. Maximin, who's in fantastic form at the moment, but there's definitely an opportunity for us to pick up our first win of the season. That's certainly how I'm feeling about it anyway.
Yeah, I have to agree. For me, it's an absolutely massive game. I know I'm going to be a nervous wreck come 3 o'clock. Being Vicarage Road. Looking forward to going to there. It's a new ground. Never been there before. But looking forward to going, being in the away end. And, I think it's a great point before we get our guests in. Liam, NUFC. I know we never win at Vicarage Road, but we need a win. And he's absolutely right.
He is.
Form at grounds, whether it's home or away against certain teams now. At this point in the season, with the way our season started, it's kind of out. It's out the window. Previous is out the window now. We need a win. But I'm sure the guests, our guys that we're just about to bring in a second, will say something very similar. Those guys are looking to stay in the league, and they've made a positive start. But hey, don't listen to me about that. Let's welcome them in ourselves. So we have Justin.
Hello.
And we have Cole. How are you guys?
Very Lovely. Good. Doing
Very
well.
Good. Yeah.
Well, I've got to be honest, massive thank you guys for allowing to take the time to come onto the show. It's I know you guys are really busy. I know you've got a show that you're going to be doing later on, but thank you for taking the time to come and join us on Loaded Mag Away Days. So before we get into things, before we get into the fixture, I had to sort of double take when I was looking at your pod name. So it says, "Do not scratch your eyes, Watford FC Podcast." It's the most unusual name I've ever seen for a podcast name. I think I know why it's named this, but could you just, guys, do you want to just talk a little bit about why your name is that?
Do you want to do it, Carl?
Yeah, we'd had a load of beers, I think, and we couldn't think of anything. That was it. I'm joking. Yeah, so the name purely comes from the Leicester City playoff semi-final game where the commentator at the time, everyone's seen it, I think now, is Troy Deeney scores. Do not scratch your eyes. And that's purely where it comes from. We were struggling for names for so long with it, and it just kind of, it was Justin, I'll give him the credit, that said, "What about this?" And I was like, "Bang, that's the one."
Yeah.
And we've actually spoken to Bill Leslie, the commentator, that day on a podcast, and
no way.
Yeah. And he was great. He was great about it. He said, well done for choosing that as the name. So it's an obvious choice, really. I think once we picked that one, that was it. We're going to stick with that one.
Do you know what, lads? Just to kind of add to what you've just said there, I think that moment. I mean, answer this in a second, but I want to know whether you were both there or not. But that moment is up there for me with when Aguero scored the winner for City to win the title. It's every time I watch it, even talking about it, I'm feeling the hair standing up on me.
Yeah, you get goosebumps.
It's mad. Like that, you don't see that every day, do you? And for that to happen, especially as a fan, it must have just been like, wow.
Well, we were both there, and
Wow.
we actually said to Bill Leslie, we said that commentary, without any hint of irony or sarcasm, is up there with the Aguero.
Yeah, it is.
There's some people on the pitch, they think it's all over. For us as Watford fans, it's up there as like, one of those moments. So that's, it had to be that really. Once we decided, do not scratch your, that's it. Nailed it.
Yeah, it's incredible that.
And Anthony Knockaert always gets a warm welcome when he comes back to the Vic anyway.
He does, yeah.
For obvious reasons. I have to say, as a Leicester born and bred boy myself, although I'm a Newcastle fan, I did enjoy watching that on Sky that day. It did give me a little bit of a smile watching that go in. It was honestly, I remember watching it on Sky. It was an amazing moment. Something I still remember now, and watching that clip back on YouTube or when they put it on Sky, and in terms of their classic moments, it really is a classic moment. Were you anywhere near where Troy Deeney throws his top off and jumps into the crowd? Were you anywhere around there? Were you the other side?
I was the other side of the pitch, and you were up the other end, weren't you?
Yeah, so I was behind the goal that Almunia saved the penalty at, so next to the Leicester fans, basically. But I still to this day, and this is something we've spoken about before, I couldn't watch the penalty. I was so angry that it had been given, that a gust of wind had sent Knockaert over, that I turned my back on it. I couldn't watch it. So I actually missed Almunia save it. I turned round as Anya just has this Brazilian stroke Scottish touch and just then starts the process. But yeah, I couldn't watch it. I was fuming, to say the least.
You're on the pitch 5 minutes later.
I was on the pitch, yeah.
On the pitch,
I was on the pitch actually telling Knockaert how fuming I was.
That's class.
I love it.
That is class.
They're the kind of moments I want to hear about. That's what it's like to be a fan. You know what's really weird actually? I don't know, Chris, you might have the answer to this. I can't ever remember in the 30 years I've supported Newcastle where we've actually been on the pitch for something.
No, I don't think we've had any reason to be honest, Pete. I mean, unless you fancy celebrating the Intertoto or getting promoted. I mean, don't get me wrong, getting promoted is fantastic, but really we shouldn't have been down there in the first place. So as delighted as we were, me personally, I wouldn't sprint on the pitch to do that, being a Newcastle fan. But I mean, absolutely don't blame Carl and Justin. Because that moment and the euphoria of it, and it was just. I still love watching it back now. It's just great.
Yeah, we'll never see it again. We'll never see it again. And I think just on what you said there about at Newcastle, I wouldn't fancy the run from right at the top of one of your stands to the pitch. I mean, it's like a half an hour trip. I think you probably have to get a taxi.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, we saw Carragher and Neville doing the run, didn't we, last Friday on Sky Sports, from the floor to I think it was level 7, and I think Neville didn't even reach the top. He was.
As an away fan that's been to your ground, my God, them stairs are an absolute killer. You need oxygen. They should sell oxygen in some form at the top. People have paid for it.
Yeah, definitely. I think the only time I've been right at the top of St James's is in the main stand, and it was a game against Aston Villa at home. It was the early 2000s. I think it was 2004. And I could not believe how high it was and how long it took me to go up there. Yeah. And I remember saying to my brother, bearing in mind we travelled from Leicester to get up there, I'm never doing this again. We were normally in the Leazes end, right down, sort of 8 rows from the bottom. I was like, next time we are going down there. I'm not making that trip up there again. The away fans growing up, but not us. There's a point in saying that. But right. Look, just before we get into the details, just want to find out a little bit about how long you guys have been podding for as Watford fans.
Podcasting, 11 months, actually. Yeah. Carl, you've been doing YouTube for a bit longer than that, haven't you?
Yeah, so I've got a YouTube vlog that it basically follows me getting drunk, eating pies, watching Watford around the country. Really, I go, yeah, that's it, yeah, home and away. So yeah, I've been doing that for a while, and then I met Justin. Well, we kind of known of each other for a while, and really COVID threw us together. To be fair, because of the situation, because we couldn't get to football. I couldn't do the vlogs, so I was like, mate, I've got to do something. And I've heard Justin, he does a little bit of radio here and there. Okay. So, and he's got one of them voices that you just kind of, I just always listens. I don't listen to him as much now I know him. You know, I kind of try to ignore him a little bit. But yeah, fate kind of just threw us together, and we're kind of like-minded with regard to football. And we wanted something that was... There's quite a few Watford podcasts, and for a small club, it's actually I don't know any other club like it, but it's a little bit saturated. And we just wanted something that stuck out. And when it was crap, we could say it was crap and not toe the line and kind of just go off on our own. What a podcast should be. And there's probably a few out there at the moment with regard to Watford that are not like that. They're very much, we go again, we're to get, blah 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 blah. Oh, come on, do me a favour. But yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
Ah, fantastic. Well, look, we've got the niceties out of the way. We've got the introductions out of the way. Now it's into the game. So, look, Watford have had, in my opinion, if we're comparing results here, I've had a really good start to the season. Really, really good start to the season. Beat Villa early on. More recently, had a fantastic result against Norwich. What are your early season feelings? From the outside looking in, we're thinking, wow, like we would trade in a second. Your points and your results and the way you guys are playing. But from the inside, as a fan, what are your thoughts about how you started the season?
Well, personally, slightly disappointed, to be honest. I think we didn't turn up against Brighton. We were unlucky at Tottenham. Wolves, we were dreadful. So personally, slightly disappointed. Actually, I thought we might have at least one more, if not three more points on the board by now. What about you, Carl?
Yeah, we're going through a bit of a change at the moment. I mean, again, you're saying from the outside in, we've cleared a lot of deadwood at the club, and I don't include Troy Deeney in that, in the sense of he's gone on to what Troy's achieved at the club is bordering legendary, really. At our club, but we've cleared a lot of players that have been there for a long time, who have taken a lot of money out of the club, who just don't get near the first team, and so we're in a big change at the moment. And unfortunately for us, and Justin will probably back me up on this, is we're quite used to change at Watford where managers are concerned. We spin managers around like nobody's business, and I get from other clubs' point of view, they go, oh, that you can't do that, you can't do this, and that's wrong. But I think when you actually see the business model, and if you look at it, it has kind of worked. I know we've had the relegation, I keep saying it is last season, but the COVID thing throws me out. But I think if you look at it, we've had an FA Cup final out of it. All right, we won't talk too much about that. We've had 5 solid years in the Premier League, really without any real dramas. So if you look at a club our size and what the owners have done for us, I'd kind of put it as a success. Do I like it? No, I don't. I'd like to have a manager that I can go, that's the man we're getting behind. And at the moment, thankfully, we look like we've got him. Fingers crossed, and touch some wood.
It's only got to take a few bad results.
Yeah, a couple of bad results. Yeah, I mean, I just to say to you boys, before the Norwich game, I said, and I quoted it on our podcast, that if our manager lost the Norwich game, which we didn't, thankfully, and your game, he'd be gone, because they're two clubs at the moment that, if you look at them, and you said this at the very start, we're looking for the points. We're at home. Yeah. We're going to be in and around each other, no matter what anyone says. I think, and I'm really interested actually to talk to you guys about what's going on at that club, because again, look, from a Watford fan, I look at the side. I've been to that stadium when it's full and it's spine tingling. It's a massive club, huge club, but it just never quite kicks on, or it just never gels properly. And you kind of, from the outside looking in, you I don't really get it. And I've been told by someone, I don't know how true this is, allegedly your away fans this week are planning some sort of protest against the owner and so forth. So I don't know. It's a weird one, football, isn't it? And you just said a second ago you'd swap at an instant. Well, there's probably a few Watford fans that might want to swap with you guys, for what you've got. It's perspective. I think when you know the core and how it works inside, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, look, I know Chris has definitely got an opinion on this. I mean, me and Chris are ranted every week. We do a rant show on another channel on NUFC Matters, and we used to ranting about this club all the time. However, look, you're absolutely right.
How long have you got?
Yeah, that's so true. So true.
Julie's a regular on the show. She's absolutely spot on.
Yeah,
we could talk all night about this, but look, ultimately, in a nutshell, we were a team that was in the top 5. We were part of that big 6 up until Mike Ashley took over the club. Yeah. And then in the 14 years that he's been in charge of this club, we're no longer a top 4, a top 6 team. It's as simple as that. If we were to simplify it, that's basically what it is. So Mike Ashley has effectively made us or dropped us out of the top 6, and actually we're probably part of the bottom 6 now, if anything. In any season, doesn't matter who's promoted, who's relegated, we are always consistently part of that bottom 6 now, and that's effectively what we are as a club. And it's such a shame because, like you said, the fan base, the stadium, the potential. We talked about it a few weeks ago, in that some of the players that we've still had come through this club over the last 10 years, like how we managed to attract those players to come to this club. You look at Alex at Maximum, you look at Demba Ba, Papi Cisse, Hatem Ben Arfa, Johan Cabaye. You can go through the list. Gini Wijnaldum's a Champions League winner now, Premier League winner. These players have all come through Newcastle United, and it's like, how have we still managed to attract these players, regardless of the fact that we've got an owner that's not ambitious at all? And it's because we are still seen as a big club, not just in England, but in and around Europe. It's just that we have an owner that's not ambitious to realise that potential right now. He knows it's there. He just doesn't want to put the money in to realise it. And it's as simple as that. I mean, Chris, I don't know if you want to add to that.
Do you know what, Pete? I won't talk too much about it because we could probably do like a 3-hour show on it, if I'm honest, boys. Because the frustration's real, and it's a big problem because we all want rid of Ashley. Ashley doesn't want the club anymore, but the trouble is we can't. Well, down to the Premier League, we can't get that takeover that we want and need. And Pete's absolutely right. The longer that we stay under Mike Ashley, we're just a nothing club. And that's the sad thing. And that's why I said at the start, we're looking at Watford thinking, got to get 3 points. But similarly, we've got to understand Watford are looking at Newcastle and going, that's where we're getting our points from. And you're at home. And I can completely understand that.
If I may, chaps, Watford actually put something out on Facebook yesterday. And this is what they said. They said, did you know the Hornets have won more points, brackets 19, against the Magpies than they've earned against any other opponent in the Premier League?
So enjoy Saturday, lads.
Enjoy Saturday.
That's not what I want to hear.
I'm really sorry to tell you that.
I got that.
We beat you in the cup and home and away, didn't we?
We had that season. We beat you, I think it's 3 times. I do remember that, the cup and then the 2 league games. Yeah,
in the cup the year that we got to the final, I think we did beat Newcastle
that season. Yeah,
pretty sure.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah. Sorry, chaps.
I'm
only passing it on. I'm not,
Even in our best seasons, we've never had a good record at Vicarage Road, and that was part of the reason why I kind of mentioned to Chris at the beginning of the show is that come Saturday we're at the point now where records go out the window. We can't afford to dwell on records. We can't afford, because I know for a fact, and you guys have just proved that, is that we don't have a good record travelling to Vicarage Road. But we have to put that aside now because we are desperate for the points. Not just we, in my opinion, Steve Bruce is desperate for the points because I think his job depends on that. And how much it depends on it, we as Newcastle fans don't know. But I think it will go a long way okay, to deciding how he continues on as manager at this club. And like you just said, we look at these games beforehand, and me and Chris do this every year. As soon as the fixtures come out, and this is just under the Mike Ashley era, first thing we do is look at where we're going to get our 40 points from. And, ultimately we look at games like Watford home and away and think we need 6 points from that. But equally, like Chris has said rightly, you guys do the same. And that's just the way we are and the way things are right now. And it's such a shame. But look, you guys have, in my opinion, had a really, really good start to the season. Who are from a Newcastle perspective, who are our main threats? Who are the guys that we need to worry about from your team come Saturday?
Well, Sarr is number one on that. He's he's starting to tear it up now, and against, there he is, the little beauty against Norwich, and some might say it was only Norwich, but him and Femenia, who were playing kind of right back that day, they just tore him apart. Couldn't cope with it. So he's a huge threat, and his pace, I got to say, he is probably one of the, probably biased saying this, but he's one of the quickest players in our division. He's just for that first sprint, he's got you. And I saw him. He tore Tottenham apart away at their place, but we just couldn't finish it. Just couldn't get the ball in the back of the net. But again, we're going through, as I said before, quite a lot of changes. Yeah, Dennis. Somebody's just put Dennis again, another one who could cause problems as well. The front three, if they get it right this season, there's goals in there, because we've got Josh King as well. Yeah, I was there for that. That was a very, very good celebration. Was better than the goal, to be fair.
For any Newcastle fans that are watching this right now, that isn't Obafemi Martins. That isn't Lamana Trezor Lamar. It is Dennis. Look, I've got to be honest, guys. As an outsider, I'd seen Dennis play previously. I've seen him terrorise teams in the Champions League, Real Madrid being one of them. Yeah, I was genuinely shocked when that deal went through, and it seemed to go through very quickly and very quietly, and that doesn't normally happen with players and teams in the Premier League making these kind of deals. Like, were you aware of it like weeks in advance, or was it a shock to you guys that you actually signed him?
I don't know if it was a shock. I think it was more that there was a lot of goals from the strikers last season were a huge issue. Although we got promoted, it was a massive issue actually getting goals from our strikers. A lot of our goals came from the midfield area, Sarr being one of them, and so forth. So there was a big call towards the middle to the end of last season that, if this carries on and we go up, we need firepower and we got to do something. So him as an individual, I don't know. I think we set our stall out quite honestly, and it's a case of come to Watford, come and have 2, maybe 3 decent seasons, show what you're all about in the Premier League, and off you go for a profit. And we'll turn play. And Sarr will be that. You mark my words, Sarr will go to Liverpool for 80 million, maybe. He's. I think he's quite open and honest that Mane's a good pal of his. True. And then fellow countryman as well. So, and I haven't got a problem with that. I haven't got a problem bringing players in and turning them over for a profit. And there's a young lad, João Pedro, young Brazilian kid who's unfortunately just out injured at the moment, but I think he's got a massive future ahead of him as well. And that's just the way that our owners operate. They bring these. Their scouting network is one of the biggest in the world. It is huge, touches most countries. And obviously they've got the second club, Udinese, which they kind of trial players out. Maybe, and if it's not quite working right, go and put him there for a season, bring him back to the Premier League. And we've got that with a young lad called Hernandez. Although he didn't play for Udinese, he's been on loan.
Is that Juan Hernandez?
It's Cucho Hernandez. But he played in Spain.
He's great.
He played in Spain for a few seasons, but you just tell the kid, he's like Aguero, like just low centre of gravity, real dangerous looking kid. And we have got players that I think on their day, if it all clicks, could beat, most teams.
There's another player you need to look out for if he's playing as well, our Slovakian, Kuchka. who's 33, I think, 33, 34. But my God, that bloke puts in a shift.
Yeah.
He's a big unit, and he bosses the midfield. So
he looks like a hog carrier.
He does. He does.
Looks like a bricky. Just
like
run it, yeah. Just a monster.
He's huge, and he's just on his day. If he's good, he'll boss that midfield. So that's another player to look out for.
Definitely. I did see him, and I didn't really know too much about him as a player, but I watched the game, or certainly the extended highlights against Norwich, and it really looked like you had a solid base there with, is it Kuchka? Kuchka and Musa Sissoko as that sort of those like solid midfield base, and that just allowed, as you've talked about already, the pace of Dennis, Sarr, and I think Cleverly played further forward. Am I right in thinking? Played a little bit further forward. So it just allowed those guys to really go at Norwich. And that was the thing that I noticed more than anything, is that solid base allowed your forward players kind of to go and express themselves, and that's why I think you guys went off and kind of won the game really comfortably, and that's kind of something that if I'm honest, I'm a little bit worried about. But I've just mentioned him there. But what have you made to our former player, our former midfielder, Musa Sissoko?
I
say the jury's still out with him. A little bit.
He's not shone yet, I would say. He hasn't shone. He's been quite anonymous so far, to be fair.
And I don't want to undercut him. The guy's won a World Cup at the end of the day, so exactly. It's a case of he's got a bed in. He literally left Spurs on the Tuesday, played against them on the Saturday, and then he done a job without really coming above like the clouds really to show himself. Just a solid kind of guy, if we get that out of him, where he just puts in those performances week in and week out, I'll take that. Again, he was probably one of the ones that I was most surprised that we signed, honestly and truthfully. I didn't see him come in from anywhere, because our midfield at one point just seemed packed. We just seemed to have so many midfielders. But yeah, he's got potential still. I think he's still got a lot of energy to give. But yeah, the jury's out. I just want to see him crack on and do something. And he can't shoot for.
No, I was just about to say, Carl, don't expect any goals off him. I think the max he scored for us, Pete, was like 3 in a season. It was something like that, and I think that was a miracle. He scored a great goal against Chelsea on his debut, and we were all really excited. But look at Jeff Hendrick. Scored on his debut, and we all knew where that was going, didn't we? But I also wanted to ask you lads as well, your thoughts on, go slightly off Newcastle, stay on Newcastle, but also go off on Newcastle, on Danny Rose and Josh King, because obviously Danny Rose, that he came to Newcastle, and we were quite excited when we signed him, and then soon that went downhill. So I don't know whether he's still the same with yourselves. Has he improved? Has he got himself fit? But also Josh King, because he went on a loan, didn't he, to Everton? And I think a lot of people, they weren't surprised he went to Everton, because it was a choice between Fulham and Everton, and you could see why he chose Everton. But he was pretty anonymous and he didn't really play much. But then I noticed, obviously, when you signed him, I thought, if he plays week in, week out, he could do something. So what were your thoughts on Rose and King?
Go on, Justin, you crack on.
Rose, I'm enjoying watching, actually. We were playing Messina at the beginning of the season, and then when we started playing Rose, I think there was an immediate improvement in that left-back position. King, I mean, I haven't, again, he's a bit like Sissoko for me. I haven't really seen anything yet that's made me think, wow, brilliant or anything like that. But I base our forward line very much on what Carl was saying earlier, that we had a lot of deadwood. We had players like Andre Gray that were just, I don't even want to get into that now, thanks. But yeah, I'm so glad he's at QPR. Bye, Andre. See you later. And Isaac.
I would have driven Andre Gray to you guys. I would have literally put him in the car and drove him all the way up there.
We wouldn't have opened the door.
Yeah, and you know what, Rob? We'd have took it. We'd have took it.
We would have, yeah, to be fair, we would have.
You could have had in-hand success for nothing, I tell you. They were
Yeah.
absolutely dreadful. So we have got a very, very new forward front line. So King yet hasn't really, for me, shone, but I'm sure it's there. You can feel it's coming with King, I think. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I earmarked King at the beginning of the season as one of our best signings. I thought, yeah, and you just touched on it, Chris, about the Everton loan. It didn't work for him there, and it happens. You know, players go to clubs, and we've just mentioned Andre Gray. He came to us on the back of being this goal scorer who ran off defenders, and we just never saw it. But I generally think that he's got the bit between his teeth. He's hungry to prove that he's still a Premier League striker. Yeah. What he done at Bournemouth, you know, he kept them up this, you know, for 4 years. Basically, he was with them. So I think he's got a lot of potential and a lot to prove, and that can only be good for Watford from where I am. Danny Rose, however, I'll touch on that very quickly. I think he turned up at the club in worse shape than me, honestly and true. And I generally mean that. He was, very unfit, and he's slowly but surely getting there, and you're starting to see it. But his ability to read the game is what makes him a very, very good asset. And it's not that he's going to bomb up behind, you know, our strikers and overlap and stuff like that. That's not him. But what he is going to do is read the game and actually make you very, very strong at the back. And he's shown that a couple of times against Norwich. Just couldn't get past him because he knew what was coming. So yeah. I think for experience side of it, you know, the guy was playing for England 3-4 years ago. Yeah. So look, you know, I think again a great bit of business for us.
You don't just become a bad player overnight, and I think that was the frustration from our side because we knew there was a player there, but I think, like you say, the fitness was an issue, and he was in and out the team. He kept up picking up the odd niggle, then he couldn't get back in. Then we picked other players over him, so we always felt like you never saw the best of him. And to be honest, we questioned his attitude, because he did say a few questionable things as well.
It was on the back of that Tottenham documentary, wasn't it, when he came to you, the Jose Mourinho? And I wonder if that did affect him a lot more than he kind of made out, that because he was Tottenham through and through. And probably their first choice left back for a decade. I don't know. I'm just pulling that, but for a long time. Yeah, and then to be told all of a sudden you're not needed, and in your head, I can still play, I can still do it. I just wonder how it affected him, and maybe, unfortunately for you guys, you probably didn't get the best out of him. But touch wood again. I hope we've got a player there.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's kind of like when you come through the academy ranks at a club and you love that club, like you've mentioned, and you've got a manager that trusts you and plays you week in, week out, like Pochettino did, and then you get a manager like Mourinho coming in and just kind of rip that apart and just tell you all of a sudden that you're no longer wanted. That can play with your mind. That can play with your sort of mental health a lot. And he did talk about his mental health struggles massively. He did eat a lot of fish and chips.
Yeah, that's a great comment.
Do you remember that comment as well, Pete? That came out the other day.
Yeah, he was very honest, shall we say, when he came to Newcastle, when he talked about certain aspects of the club. You know, he did say, you know, he was happy about coming up north because of the fish and chips, but he did say about certain things about the club. So one of the things he talked about was how many days we were allowed off after game day, in terms of we wouldn't see a training pitch for 2 or 3 days, you know, after a game. And he was like he didn't understand it because he was programmed and machined into being in the next day, even after a win, even after a loss under Pochettino. It was kind of like at that point he was like, it doesn't make sense, you know, in order to keep your fitness up. And you've made the point. He came to your club very, very unfit, and players like that need to continually train and continually look after their fitness in order to maintain themselves when it comes to game day. But then when he's been given 2 or 3 days off before, you know, in the build up to a match day, it's kind of like how can you continue to maintain your fitness when you're not playing? So he was very open and honest in that. And, you know, the Newcastle fans appreciated that to a certain extent, because we don't get a lot of information coming out of the club with regards to stuff like that. So I think Newcastle fans really appreciated that. But then, at the same time, he wasn't necessarily putting the performances in. But as we've said before, I think that goes back to Jose Mourinho being very, very cutthroat with him in terms of not wanting him around at a club that he loves very, very much. But like you said, he had experience. We could see that when he played for us. His performances weren't always outstanding, but you could tell the experience was there and the know-how was there. And that's, when you're down there in the trenches and you're trying to stay in the Premier League, that's the kind of quality you need. So I'm not really surprised about that. But we'll move swiftly on, because I know that we haven't got you for too much longer. But we've talked about the players, we've talked about Watford, we've talked about the start that they've made, and we've talked about the danger men that you think could trouble Newcastle on Saturday. But from a Watford perspective, who are the guys that you think could really hurt you, and where do you think your kind of gaps are that we could exploit on Saturday?
Well, thankfully, most of the ones that I worry about look like they're going to be out.
Yeah.
So
we've got one. I think we've got one.
Yeah. I mean, Maximum, definitely. We were linked with him heavily before we got Sarr. I do rate him. I think he's a quality player. Again, pace, power. He's got everything, hasn't he? Just so tricky to deal with. And I know Callum Wilson always scores against us. So allegedly he's going to be out. Hopefully, touch wood.
Yeah.
He wasn't training again today. I think he wasn't in full training anyway. I think he's been in a little bit of light training from one or two people on social media. But I think it's more likely he'll be back for the Wolves game the week after. You've
got who's the young? Is it Willett, the young lad from Arsenal? I think he's a player that I like. I think I do rate him. I think he's got a lot of potential. He could kick on this season. And I tell you, a player who always, and I don't know his situation up there, but he always scores against Watford is Richie. Yeah. I don't know. That's his Bournemouth connection, but he's just one of those players. I can't stand him. He drives me mental.
Do you know what, Carl? You might get your own back on the weekend, because Richie now tends to play for us as a left wing back. Yeah, and excellent. It worried me when you were talking about Sarr at right wing, because I was thinking, oh God, arguably the slowest player we've got on the pitch. So that will be an interesting battle.
Yeah.
You spoke about gaps as well in our team. I think playing out from the back is a bit of a weakness of ours. We seem to be doing quite a lot of that, and it's not a good idea. Just welly it up the other end. So you might find the odd stray pass out from Trusty Kong that you can capitalise on. That frightens me slightly. I'm not sure who's going to be in goal on Saturday. Are you, Carl? Is it going to be Backman? Is it going to be Foster? We don't know really.
I'm going to put myself out here. I'm going to hope Foster's back.
I think Foster will be in goal.
I just think his distribution is a lot better. Backman, although he had a great season last season, he's got at the moment he's got a bit of a rick in him, and I think with some of the players we've just mentioned, especially players like Maximum getting in and around the box, he's just going to flap, and it's going to be chaos. So I'd like to see Foster in goal. It really depends how we set up in our midfield, because if we set up like we did against Wolves and Brighton, we could find ourselves in trouble. I think we'll try and congest that midfield as much as we can, just to stop any runs, and probably double up on Maximum. But
I also think having Kiko in the side will help us going forward. If you've got Kiko and Sarr on that right-hand side, you guys are going to have to sort your act out, because they
overlap. Yeah,
didn't Kiko come off injured against Norwich?
He's got a knock, but allegedly, and this is inside information, allegedly he'll be all right.
We met him on Tuesday night, didn't we?
We met him Tuesday night, yeah. We met him Tuesday after we lost to Stoke, yeah.
Yeah, that's another story. Let's not talk about that.
I won't talk about that one. But allegedly he'll be all right. Allegedly, so we'll see.
Boys, I've got a couple of questions in the chat that I'd love to
Yeah.
run by you. So one of our co-hosts, Martin. Good evening, Martin. Martin has asked, Chris Eagle's goal versus Brighton was one of the best Watford goals I've seen. Can I ask the lads for theirs, please?
Ooh.
Go first.
Yeah. Ooh. No, you go first, mate. That's pressure.
I think one of the best Watford goals I've ever seen was Deulofeu against Wolves, the semi-final of the FA Cup. I don't know where he pulled that out from. I don't know where he pulled that out from.
That was beautiful.
Any of the 4 goals we scored against Luton away in '97 are definitely up there. And obviously Troy Deeney against Leicester in 2013. I mean, technically it wasn't perhaps a great goal, but what a moment that was.
Well, I'll give you a moment from that game, actually, and it is one of my favourite goals. But just on that Chris Eagles one, I was there for that, and that was a naughty goal. Mine is actually in that Leicester game, and a lot of people forget about it. It's Matty Vidra where it comes over his shoulder and he just hooks it first time into the top bin past Schmeichel. Great goal for me.
Nice, boys, nice. Another question. This is a real obvious one. But obviously, we've got to ask it. Liam NUFC asks, will Watford stay up, do you think? I think they'll just stay up.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's really about, and I keep saying it, it's really about the next before Christmas for us. Because we need to get as many points in the bag before Christmas, because at some point Watford do the thing where we just go missing and disappear, and we'll have a run of games of 6-7 games without a win, and every season without a doubt. So for me, it's really about building on now and here, and that's why I think this game is so important. So for me, just to sum that up, yes, we're going to stay up.
Yeah, I think we will as well. To be honest, I mean, you can tell. I think you can feel it sometimes. Certainly, the season that we got relegated, first game of the season, we were losing to Brighton 3-0, was it, or something? I think we lost. I turned to the bloke next to me and said, "We're going down this year." First game of the season, you just feel it. I
look at Norwich. I look at Burnley. Dare I say it? Newcastle. There's probably 5 or 6 teams, including ourselves, who could go either way, and even the teams I'll bring Wolves into that as well, who could have Brighton could fall apart. You just Leeds, they're still in my book not they've had that great season last season, of course, but that means nothing now.
Brentford it's their first season as well.
So there's so much that can happen, and that's why this league is awesome for me, because you just can't call it at the moment.
No, you're right. You get a lot of teams, like we've seen it in the past. We've seen it with the likes of Huddersfield, Hull, and various other teams. Norwich have done it time and time again, where you have a really good start and you pick up some points, but then when it gets into the kind of the bulk of the season, that's when teams start to drop off, and that's where other teams that maybe don't start as well, like how many times have Palace had a really bad start to the season? How many times have the likes of Burnley had a really bad start to the season? But when it gets into the bulk of the season, they start to pick up those points, and the other teams start to drop off and get into that sort of rut in that those bad set of results. And I'm kind of hoping to, in one sense, that we're like that. We're like a Burnley or a Palace, where we've had a bad start, but then we start picking up results. But we could talk about this all day, like we've said before, but with Steve Bruce in charge, I don't believe that we're ever going to get out of this rut, because I don't think he's got the managerial nous. I mean, what do you think about Steve Bruce? Before we get into predictions and kind of, I know you guys got to shoot really quickly, but what do you think about Steve Bruce as a manager?
I think he's the sort of manager you bring in when you've sacked your manager and you need to try and get some results on the board, with 10 games to go and so forth. And probably, dare I say it, Championship manager, does very well in that division, and not enough consistency for me. If he turned up at my club, I'd be pissed. I'll say it. I say it as it is. Yeah, I wouldn't be happy. It's not. He doesn't fill me full of the joys of spring, Steve Bruce, and his footballing philosophy.
I can't add much more to that. I agree with that, to be honest.
Yeah, I can see why you get, but then I'd say to you and to Newcastle fans, who's out there? Who do you want to go and get? Who's out there?
Only one for me. There's only one for me, and I've said it so many times. For me, Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe is the one.
Would he take it?
I think he would.
He turned down Celtic, massive club, virtually guaranteed Championship, Champions League, and he turned it down because. And this is Eddie Howe, and I'll tell you about Eddie Howe because he's ex-Watford. He's got no bottle. He done Bournemouth because they were a small club and he couldn't cock it up really in the grand scheme of things. He had an owner that had a load of money to throw at it, and he couldn't muck it up. Now go and look at what he did at Burnley. He absolutely destroyed them. Got, I think, dare I say, relegated, or they struggled anyway. But I think if you put him in a hostile environment, which with the greatest respect to any Newcastle fan, that's a tough place to go and play your football and be a manager. Yeah, and I don't think he's got the credentials and the minerals to do that job. I generally don't. And I know on paper, if Eddie Howe comes to Watford, I'll be like, do you know what? On paper, he's done all right, but. Honestly, I think he's overrated. I generally mean that.
I think he'd have a kind of a starting block for me in that he's got the likes of Callum Wilson, Ryan Fraser, Matt Ritchie, players that have played under him that know his philosophy and his style of play, and they're influential players within our squad.
And Graham Jones, of course, Pete.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
With his experience at Bournemouth, he's added some experience at Bournemouth.
I completely agree. I think if you're going to take a gamble, he's worth a gamble. But I don't know. I'm not the biggest Eddie Howe fan. I think there's a lot of smoke being blown up that gentleman's bottom for quite a long time, and it's a case of and why not come back into football? You've left Bournemouth. You've done really well. Go and join a club. Go and put it on the line. Like Sam, nobody likes him. Sam Allardyce does it year in, year out. I'll keep him up. He's dropped it now, so that's probably him done. But that's what a manager should be. It should be, back yourself, go and put yourself out there. And for me, turning down the Celtic job was just proof to me that he ain't up for it.
Nope, it's a great point. It's a great point.
I'm ranting about Eddie Howe. Oh no, sorry about that.
No, because I've been very much pro Eddie Howe since back in November. When Bruce was out on his real sort of bad run, and I've been saying, look, I definitely want him there. And it's great to hear an alternative view, and obviously someone that's seen Eddie Howe at Watford. And seeing his career a little bit closer maybe than we have. It's great to have that alternative opinion because, we see one way and one style, and I do think it improves us, but it's great to hear that, everything's not all rosy because, in most cases it's not for managers. It's not all rosy and there are negative sides. So it's great to see that. But yeah, Chris, just quickly, who would you have Eddie Howe? Was there an alternative for you?
Do you know what? I think you knew, didn't you, Pete, when we were talking about this? Like Eddie Howe, I'm not Eddie Howe's biggest fan, but on the other hand, that's the point we've got to with Steve Bruce now, Carl and Justin. It's got to a case where, like, we were laughing and joking, weren't we, months back, saying we take Mark Hughes. Like, we feel like you just need a new voice. You just need somebody. Everyone had to go at me for saying that, but the point I was trying to make was I'd literally take anyone. Like, Graham Jones hasn't got a great managerial record. He messed up at Luton, didn't he? But we all know he's a good coach. But right now, if someone said to me, get rid of Bruce and have Graham Jones as manager, I would. There's a lot of people that I would take at the moment just to get rid of Bruce because I think his time's done. And I think the players need a new direction. They need a new voice. And yeah, genuinely, I think Eddie Howe makes the most sense because of the connections Pete's talked about. And don't forget as well, lads, we're still living in hope that there is something around the corner in terms of a takeover. So it wouldn't be a long-term thing anyway. I wouldn't have thought. And even if this takeover falls through, I can't see Mike Ashley here in 12 to 18 months. And I'm sure when new owners come in, they'll want their own man anyway.
100%.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
100%.
I know you guys need to shoot very quickly, so we're at prediction time. And I know Chris in the chat was asking for people's predictions, and they were getting those predictions in. But from your point of view, from a Watford point of view, just to finish it off, what do you think the result's going to be from Saturday 5 p.m?
Well, clean sheets are something that we're not used to this season so far. So you're going to get a goal.
This be true.
That's good.
Without doubt. And it's just whether we can get more than you. I don't know. We haven't had a draw yet this season. I don't like saying draw. I'm going to say 2-1 Watford, but you know, everything I've said this season so far has been totally wrong prediction-wise. So I'll go 2-1 Watford, but who knows?
No, fantastic. Cole?
I hate doing predictions because it always comes to bite me on the backside. If you give me the 3 points, I'll take a cheeky. Do you know what? We'll keep a clean sheet. I'll say 2-0.
Cool.
I'll go with it.
I don't know what you think our defence are going to
be 4-0 to Newcastle now. You watch. The abuse I'll get on social media.
It's all your fault, Carlos. Yeah.
Well, I'll be honest with you, and I know Chris will agree. I hope it is 4-1 or 4-0, but I personally can't see that myself. But
are you coming down? Are you going to the game?
I'll be there.
We'll meet up. We'll say hi. We'll catch you.
Meet you outside the Graham Taylor statue before the game. We'll come and see you.
Okay, send me a message, or I'll message you when I get the train. I've got a bit of a long-winded train to get to Watford, but we'll be there, and I'll send you a message, and then we'll meet up for a beer or two before.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, I do, and just on a note, I think the Newcastle fans, to be fair to them, always a good crack when they come down to Watford, loud, and it's what a night out Newcastle is, by the way, for any. It's a proper one. Yeah, it left the poor old Southerner here in a right old mess last time I was up there. So, yeah, fair play to you. And look, and I, although I don't really mean it for this weekend, I hope you stay. I hope you do well and you crack on. It's a great club, and there's never any animosity between Newcastle and Watford, which is nice. Yeah, can't say the same for Arsenal, but. Hey ho,
or other teams, Bournemouth, Luton.
Yeah.
You must be enjoying Arteta at the moment, lads.
Love him, mate. I hope they keep him. I hope they put a statue outside their ground.
Only because I like watching AFTV on a Sunday. That's my pleasure. That's my little treat. That is right. I'm going to put AFTV on now and just watch that and watch the meltdown.
Everyone loves it for the same reason. They just love the meltdown.
Do love a meltdown.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I have a meltdown most weeks, but no one's recording it. So,
well, you record yourself having a meltdown. You must.
Well, I do sometimes. Yeah, I do sometimes. Yeah.
Well, guys, honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you both on today. Really, honestly, absolutely spot on, guys. Really, really good to chat to you. Best of luck for the rest of the season, apart from Saturday. To be honest,
back at you.
Need the points just a little bit more than you guys do at the moment, but I will definitely meet you down there for a pint or two before the game, and we'll catch up. I'll let you guys go because you've got another pod to do now. But massive to Paul and Justin, you guys take care. And when we've got the wraparound, so when you come to St James's Park, if you're happy to come on again, we'll have another chat.
Yeah, it'd be good. 100%.
Absolutely,
I'll be up there as well, so that'd be good.
Legend, top man.
Awesome. Well done, boys.
You guys take care.
See you Saturday.
Thanks, lads. Take care.
Cheers. Thanks.
Shut up.
Yeah, guys. Absolutely class to have Carl and Justin on. Really, really top guys. 100%.
Yeah, nice gents, aren't they? And obviously you'll get to meet them on Saturday, mate, which is great.
Definitely. But this is the thing. We talk about away days and we've got the fans on. This is why we do it. This is why Loaded Mag do away days, is because it's great to hear the opposition's viewpoint of not just their club and the fixture that's coming up, but also it's great to hear their opinion on Newcastle, because I don't know about you, Chris. It was a really nice reminder today with those guys on the show, the way they talked about Newcastle, how big the club is, how much they love coming up to St James's Park, how loud the fans are, and how much they appreciate how passionate we are. And it's just, you know what, it was really nice to hear Carl and Justin sort of talk about it and talk about us in a real positive light. It kind of gave me, a bit more of a reassurance and a positive feeling about things, although they're god awful at the moment, and the way we're feeling as a fan base. That was it was nice to hear.
No, it was, and it was equally nice, Peters. I'm sure you'll agree to hear that not everybody loves Steve Bruce, so that was really nice to hear as well, mate, wasn't it? Because we're fed up of everyone saying how great he is, and we hate him.
Definitely, 100%. But it was interesting to hear about Eddie Howe as well. I've not had that perspective. I've been very sort of pro Eddie Howe, but it was nice to hear that things aren't always rosy. We knew we obviously got relegated with Bournemouth, but things are not always rosy. So, really, really good insight. Really good insight. But
I loved talking about that goal as well. In the cup in the final. Honestly, that was one of the best moments. That is definitely, like I said before, up there with the Aguero moment. Like, one of those videos that you can just keep watching and you don't get bored of it. So good.
You know what? With a few of my students, I showed that video with regards to the way in which he communicated his opinion of how the moment was going on, and like so many of them had never seen that video before, and they were absolutely taken aback. That was they didn't realize how historic that moment was and how it's seen to football fans around the world. Not even in this country, but it's a proper big moment that when Deeney scores and the way they celebrate. Like we've never had that moment. Fans on the pitch celebrating, even when we stayed in the league. Like I remember, when Jonas Gutierrez scored the second goal against West Ham.
Of course,
That for me is the fans on the stadium on the pitch moment, and we've never really had that. Like other fan bases have had it, but we haven't. So
I think. Do you know what? It's a really good point. That's probably that, and also the Craig Bellamy scoring the winner in the Europa League or the UEFA Cup, as it was called. That those moments for me. I think interesting that you say about Gutierrez, because I think more than anything, that was just relief for me. I felt like crying just because I was just like, oh my God, we're staying up. Whereas for them, sitting on the edge of the seats thinking, are we going up, are we staying down, are we going up, are we staying down? And then to think, last few seconds, we're going up. And like the joy and so good.
Definitely.
Just unbelievable.
Dunhill's mentioned, he was there, great moment. He's referring to Feyenoord. I tell you what, Dunhill, you're a lucky guy, because I remember me and my brother watching that on ITV and going absolutely hysterical. When Dyer, I think it was Dyer that shoots and it gets saved, and we're like, oh no! Bellamy comes in, smashes it against the keeper, and everything just erupts. Just again, one of the great Newcastle moments that, along with the Shearer goal at Inter Milan, where you see the sea of black and white in the background. I watched it on TV as a kid, and it's just you can see the moment that the fans are jumping up and down. It's like slow motion. You can see it, them going up and down. Unbelievable. Wish I was there in that kind of, that's just kind of the moments that I miss, and one day hopefully that we get back 100%, mate.
You hope so, don't you, mate? I mean, I think our future, or the stuff that we've got to look forward to, is going forward, isn't it? I mean, obviously we've got loads of memories looking back, but when I say we've got loads of memories, we don't have as many as most clubs. But I do feel like we're on the cusp of something special. So, for us to look forward to all these memories and stuff, it will be, it's something I'm really looking forward to personally, and I'm sure many other Newcastle fans are as well.
Definitely, mate. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get Statman Keith on tonight. He couldn't make the time in tonight, but he's just sent me, as always, some very, very interesting stats that he would like me to read out. I'm not going to play his video. not going to do that. Only for special occasions when he's on the show. So we'll wait, hopefully, until next week when we discuss the Wolves game. However, I'll read out some of the stats that he's mentioned. So Newcastle's record against Watford is 1-16, drew 15, lost 16.
Wow,
so
that's tight.
Yeah, very, very tight. Interesting. I imagine those 116 are probably mostly in St James's Park.
Yeah.
We don't win there very often at Vicarage Road at all.
No.
Number 2, Newcastle United have only won one of their last 10 games in all competitions against Watford since 2015-16 season, winning 1, drew 2, and lost 7.
Wow. Not looking good. Records are there to be beat, though, aren't they, Pete? Records are there to be beat. I mean, you can look back in history. I mean, you'll remember a few years ago, all the media used to bang on about, Newcastle haven't won in London in 31 games, 32 games, 33 games. The records are there to be broke, aren't they? And now people don't talk about our bad record in London because in recent years, I don't actually think it's been that bad. It's probably on par with other clubs, in terms of you win some, you lose some, you draw some. So, we've broke that duck.
I don't know if you ever remember the London hoodoo that we had. We had it for ages, and then we broke it away at Highbury when we went top of the league at Christmas.
Yeah, and then everyone had to shut up about it then, didn't they?
That was it. It was a 3-1 at Highbury against a very, very talented Arsenal team.
They clocked it up all the time. Oh, they haven't won in 33 games, 34 games. It just went on and on and on. You were thinking, God, when can we win a game in London just to shut them up?
Yeah, and they put us top of the league at Christmas, which is real quality. Yeah,
Dunhill's on it. There he is.
Yeah, Arsenal 3-1. What a game! What a game that was. If you haven't watched that, watch it back. Okay, number 3. Newcastle United's record at Vicarage Road since 1993 is 1-1, 5 draws, 4 defeats. Okay, not too bad.
Not too bad. Yeah.
The 1-1 is not great. I've got to be honest.
No, that's not great. No,
definitely. Number 4, Newcastle's last win against Watford was Newcastle 1, Watford 0 in November 2018. Jose Perez getting the winner. I think I remember that. It was like a bit of a deflected goal, I think it was, under Benitez. I don't think we played well in that game either, but managed to sneak a win. Number 5, Newcastle's last win against Watford at Vicarage Road was Watford 1, Newcastle 2 in 09-10 in the Championship season. So Colaccini and Carroll getting the winning goals. Interesting. And
that is.
Number 6, Steve Bruce. Oh God, Steve Bruce is.
It's not going to be good. You started it with Steve Bruce. It's not going to be good.
I don't even want to read it. Steve Bruce's managerial record against Watford is 6 wins, 2 draws,
84 defeats,
3 losses.
Oh, 3.
Yeah.
Oh,
6,
yeah.
Hold on. Let me just check this again. That seems like a decent stat.
Yeah, Steve's flying.
1-6, drawn 2, lost 1. No, that can't be right. That can't be right. I hope
it's right.
I hope it's right.
That's a hell of a record, isn't it?
Hold on a second.
It's probably meant to be like lost 110.
No, it's not right. It's not right. Okay, let's do it properly now. Steve Bruce, 1-2.
This sounds more like it.
Drew 1, lost 3.
Oh, right. Okay.
Okay,
I would have thought Steve Bruce would have played more. He would have played more games. Well, not played, but you know what I mean. Would have managed more games against Watford than that, I would have thought.
That's in 6 games.
Right.
So in the last 6 games, 1-2.
Last 6 games, yeah.
Drew 1, lost 3. Okay.
Oh, right. Okay. So it's mixed.
The way it was worded, it was slightly off, so I wasn't too sure. So I had to double, triple, quadruple check that. So that sounds more like
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Yeah. Whereas his loss percentage is higher than anything else.
Do you think, and this is a long shot here, do you think if we lose, do you think he gets the boot?
No. I think he's got until at least the international break, because the most managerial changes, or you would think the most sensible time to make a managerial change, because I don't know the stats, would be at the international break. And I think it comes at a good time for us on a personal note, in terms of the cat case. I don't think anything will happen between now and the 29th of September. I just can't see it happening. Plus, if we were to lose the next 2 games and we've got the outcome of the cat, I think that will make it more. It'll make the position more clearer. Even if they turn around and say, "Yeah, we're going to have a court case in March," Ashley will be thinking, right, well, it's a long time till March. I don't want to get to the point where Newcastle are, stuck at the bottom of the league, and then the takeover gets the green light, and then the new potential owners go, hang on a minute, look at the state of the league position. He won't want any of that. He'll want us, teetering around that area. Well, he won't want us teetering around that area, but he'll want us not in the bottom 3. And hopefully with the opportunity, to rise up the table. If we're anywhere near the bottom 3, he knows that could affect the price, and it could.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Right. I think we'll leave it there for tonight. Great chat with Justin and Cole. Honestly, absolutely spot on. Really, really good talk. I'm sure we'll catch up with those guys again later on down the line. But Chris, as always, absolute pleasure having you on, co-hosting with me. Some great questions from yourself, some great questions from the guys in the chat as well tonight.
Yeah. So
thank you for everyone that's obviously shared their opinion with regards to the upcoming game, which is a massive, massive game. I'm traveling down, but look, come 5-3, I'm gonna be absolutely cacking it, because we need those points more.
Yeah, we do.
Just for our own sanity, we need a win on the board. But fingers crossed, we get there. Thank you, Dave, as ever. Appreciate your comments, and as always, guys, we do love playing away. Take care, guys. Have a good week.
See you guys.